January 30, 1999.
You want to call your mom, right?
Okay. This is Connie Kajitani. It's 1 o'clock. Like, how old was he when he came over?
He was 16 years old.
16.
And
Why did he come over?
to be gallivanting, I mean, I can't think of anything
First
else.
of all, where did he come?
He came from Hiroshima, Japan. From Hiroshima, Japan at the age of 16. And he roamed all through this area, LA area. He said they used to do farm like strawberries and all of that, and he worked out in the farm.
He just came straight from
From
Japan to
Japan
California.
to California.
Okay. What did he do, like, when he worked?
They picked strawberries, anything that he could
just did
find. He just did field work.
When did he get married?
Let me see. You have to back up. Let's see. Well, he was 44. When he married Grandma. She was 22. Now, you have to figure back. He got 16 years, 14 years. He was born in 1814, I think, because he got 16 years from the other century. So it had to be the 16, 14?
How did he meet her?
I really don't know. That I don't know. I guess he met her in El Paso.
Texas?
And they got married, and he was 44 and she was 22
Married here in California?
in El Paso.
In El Paso?
But then they came here to California, and then he started farming. He used to farm. He was a farmer here in California.
What did he do between the time, or he got here and he got married? What did he do?
Just worked in the farm in the LA area and San Francisco, all that, those, California. But that's all he did. But he didn't get married till 44. Start having a family at 45.
Do you know, do you know maybe why he didn't marry another Japanese woman?
No.
Mexican?
No, he married, and he spoke the Spanish fluently, and he never went back to his country, never wrote to his family. They never knew if he was alive or dead.
He came alone?
Yes.
Did he have other family?
He had two sisters that were left because the brothers were killed in the war. And so he had his mother. I guess his dad had already died when he came. But the mother was the only thing he had left. And he wrote to her until his mother died. After his mother died, he never wrote back to Japan. But he had nieces and nephews and all of over there, but...
Yeah. Was there, did her family have a problem with him being Japanese and her being
No.
It was okay.
There was no problem because I don't know, maybe they weren't real happy about the situation, but, that was about the extent of it,
When he was here, or do you know, like, views toward Japan were to the United States, like, because there was tension between them. Was he?
He didn't take sides or nothing. He never took one side or the other. He was living here, and then he was here for, And then when they took us to the camp, well, the war, when they bombed Pearl Harbor was December 7th of 1942, I think, 41. And then we were evacuated the 21st of May of 42.
For the, because I know, okay, there was like building up tension to the war and kind of conflict with Americans and Japanese-Americans. And then they put in the curfews. Do you remember any of the curfews?
Oh, yeah, you had to be inside your houses before 9 o'clock. And they used to go around and they burned, they stored up because they knew they were getting ready to get shipped out. They didn't know exactly where. But they start storing the furniture and things, that people had. Possessions that they wanted to keep.
Yeah.
But they start burning the churches down too. And the law would just turn their head the other way. Because, they knew that all that belonged to the Oriental.
Yeah.
Elmer.
Okay. How did you find out about the curfews and stuff?
Oh, because they announced it on the radio.
On the radio?
Oh, yeah, that had to be, like a special bulletin that everybody had to know. And because people had to be very careful because, the ones that were so prejudiced, there was a lot of Japanese that had their throats slashed and, things like that.
Yeah. How'd you feel about the curfews?
Well, at that time we were only I was only, 12 years old? Because I was born in 29 and it was in 41 when the war broke out. So, you weren't old enough to be out in the streets, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And besides, they expelled us out of the school right after that, because we were getting ready, we were off already at the Christmas vacation. And at that time, I guess they didn't know at the school that we were part Japanese, So then when that happened, then when we went back, the principal and vice principal grabbed us, your skinny little arms.
Yeah.
And they had one had Maruka, your aunt on one side, and the other one had me on the other. And they said, "You kid, you go home and don't come back to school because your father is at war with our country now." That's ignorance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was very frightening to us. Very frightening. So we went home and we just never came back to the school. And so we lost from December until almost a whole year, because we left in May the 21st of 42, and they didn't start. They started the schools maybe close to the end of the year.
Do you remember them having the military zone restrictions, like where people live in certain areas and you couldn't leave?
Or when we were in camp or
No, before the war.
No, we just stayed at home. We couldn't go to school, we couldn't do nothing, and my dad couldn't continue to farm because they stopped them. They froze all their assets in the banks. So they couldn't pay the workers. That way they couldn't pay the workers, so nobody would work for them.
Do you remember, like, when they first evacuated you guys? Do you remember you have to go through a registration or check-in somewhere?
Oh yeah, when they took us, they took us on a train.
Train.
And once we got over there in Poston, Arizona.
Did you go straight to Poston, or did you go somewhere first and then?
No, we went straight to Poston, Arizona, I think. And then from there, you get off the trains.
Mm-hmm.
You got off the trains, and they had those trucks with those stakes on the sides, and the things to sit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they carry all the people into the camp. And then they had a big two barracks put together,
Yeah.
military barracks like that. And that was your first stop right there. Everybody registered with their names, and they gave you a family number. And then they gave us shots. We had to go through shots like the military. And then from there they took us, they divided us, and we were in block 28. I think it was block 28 or block 26. 26.
When did they take you? Did you guys have to pack up and leave?
The 21st of May.
21st of May. In
I'm
42.
42.
And what did you do with all your possessions?
Have to sell them. You have to get rid of everything.
Do you have cars and?
We had a little property there. We practically had to give it away because, people knew that if you didn't sell it, so it was better for you to take a little bit than nothing at all and leave them there, to destroy them.
Did they take you all as a whole family?
A whole family, yeah.
Not split you up?
No. In fact, my mother, they allowed her to go with us because she didn't want us to go by ourselves.
Did she have a choice of not going in the camp?
My mother did. We didn't.
Yeah.
We had to go regardless. We didn't have a choice. My mother did.
She chose to go.
Because she was a volunteer to go because of us kids. And then after the first thing they did was take us like a bunch of cattle in those trucks. And then all of a sudden, when they got to block 26 where we were, they dropped us off there, and they had bales of hay. And then they cut all the bales of hay, and they gave each person a sack, a canvas sack, and you had to fill it up with that straw for your mattress. Those were the things that we had, the mattress. They had those little single cots, for the beds. And the first one I feel, I couldn't press it down because I stuffed it so much that I was up on the top and I would roll off the bed, so I had to take some of that hay out.
Yeah. That sounds...
It was bad, mijo, right there. And then you walk and you used to sink almost to your knee, the dirt was, because they pulled out all the mesquite trees. That's all there was there. And so they bulldozed all that and dug all that out and just piled them up on one side over there. And so the dirt was very loose.
Do you remember where you were when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor?
We were there in Brawley.
In Brawley? Way down south?
Yeah.
What are you doing in Brawley?
Well, that's where we lived.
Really? I thought you lived in Fresno.
No. We came to Fresno after the war when they let us out.
So you grew up in Brawley?
In Brawley.
Where were you born at?
I was born there in Calexico.
Oh, really? Wow, I know that. So was the neighborhood you lived in, was that primarily like like Chicano, Latino, or was it Japanese people you lived
No,
around?
it was all Mexican. Majority of them were, because your grandpa farmed. So his farmers, all his help were Mexicans.
Mm. Okay. Did you, when you guys were taken off to go to camp, did you resist at all, or was there any resistance?
Oh, no, you just went there to the train depot. They told you you already had all your papers, and you turned your papers as you went over there.
Okay. Can you tell me, like, basically how the camp was set up, or how it worked, like a typical day in the camp maybe was?
Well, we started 7 o'clock in the morning. We had breakfast. And we didn't go to school, like I tell you, because they had to set up some barracks and they had to bring teachers from the outside to teach. So it took a long time before we ever went to school. And the mess hall, you got up at 7 o'clock to go get your breakfast. 11:30 you had your lunch, and 5 o'clock you had your dinner. And you went like all the servicemen. There was a big mess hall. And your grandpa he got a job as a cook. And he used to get paid, I think it was $21 a month for cooking. And then later on, when I got older, that I went and got a job helping, pass bread or tea or drinks, And they used to pay me $15 a month.
How old are you?
About 14. And we couldn't, finally they put us like a little PX where you could buy maybe candy, gum. They would sell like cigarettes, and they couldn't afford, you couldn't afford a carton of cigarette, so they used to order everything to a catalog, and my dad used to order the can of tobacco, and he had a little machine there, a little cigarette machine roller to roll the cigarette, and so he used to roll his own cigarettes. And they used to order shoes because, shoes were limited. That you could have only like one pair once a month or, things like that. Shoes. You order clothes through the catalog. And you used to buy coffee, like to make coffee at home there in the barrack. But you have no facilities to cook, and maybe just put a pot of water and heat it up. And they had their own laundry room, but you have to wash everything by hand. There was no such a thing as any kind of machines in there.
How did you feel about being in the camps in general?
Well, at that time we didn't, you kind of get adjusted. We had to go into the shower room, It was a big shower, and, 3 or 4 people would go in the shower. Everybody had their faucet, And the bathroom there was for everybody, And they had like those tubs where you wash, hand wash clothes,
What, if any, would you say were like the good things about being in the camp, or things that you liked about the camp at all?
Well, we didn't have much choice to say that we liked anything. We used to go like, say, the only thing that we always try to make sure, because they gave us movies once a week. but the truck that had the projectors and the movies on it travel, say today they had it on 26, well tomorrow would be maybe on 28, which will be a couple blocks over, but they were long blocks. So, if you missed a movie here, well, you have to walk way out there to see it, because only once a week they would go move from block to block to block till they cover all the blocks. But that was the only entertainment we had. At first there were no schools. We used to walk from one barrack to the other in different blocks. When the teachers start coming in, they start recruiting teachers from the outside. Then
they're white teachers?
Yeah, they were white teachers. And that's what they did, is each teacher would have that one block, that one barrack there. And so they had maybe 2 or 3 blocks further up there that you would have to travel way over there to get whatever teacher was on next for the next class. But that's the way we went until they finally got enough material, because everybody helped. And of course, there's always engineers or whatever, And so for construction, they start making, I guess, like blueprints and all of that, and they built the biggest. First, they got the elementary school, and then they got the high school built, and they built auditoriums where they used to hold out, like the send-off of the boys. They used to draft boys there to go into the service.
Did any of your brothers go?
No. They weren't old enough, but there was one family, the Kajitanis, they had 5 boys. They all went in the service.
Wow.
And I say, if I would have been old enough, I would have said no. You're an American citizen. Why they put you in a camp and then they want your service? Did that make sense to you, Jackie?
Doesn't make sense.
Huh? And if they didn't want to go, there was one boy right here that he was over there in the camp that worked for Star Supermarket, the big market. They gave him 5 years for refusing to go to the service. 5 years at hard labor. Now, he was a citizen, but then he said no, if they wanted his service, why'd they put him in the camp? And now they're going to draft him from inside the camp. And so he refused to go, so they pulled him out and they put him for hard labor for 5 years. 5 years. Now, does that make sense to you, Chucky?
It's really wrong. It's unfair.
That was unfair.
Yeah.
But the instigator for all that was Governor Warren. He's the one that started that bullshit about the Japanese turning against, the Americans here, that they were sending messages to Japan and all, that kind of rumors. So I guess he figured the best way is to put them all in a corral like cattle,
He said, after looking at all the investigations, the Munson report and all that, that there was no sign of sabotage or spying or anything from the Japanese. But he said because that they didn't do it, that made him more suspicious that it would happen later on. Like it was planned out. That's why he put them all in.
Oh.
That's what he said.
But look at all the Germans.
Yeah.
How come them? They didn't do nothing to it. Huh?
So, but, okay.
I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then I remember, that, we had a hard time because, they didn't want to accept us. As time went on, they accepted us. So it was the Japanese, the kids and stuff like that, know.
What were the worst things about the camp that you remember? The things that you didn't like?
Well, they didn't, we used to go to school together, all of us. And, like Ray, he was just starting school when we first went to camp. He was just starting kindergarten. So, little kids in kindergarten there's no such a thing unless you as a parent would tell the kid, you don't play with that. Stay away from that kid, Because kids are kids and it doesn't matter to them what color your skin is. And so Ray used to go to school and it didn't make any difference to him. It was the older kids that they would slide you, But eventually they accepted us,
So the Japanese kids who were full Japanese treated you guys different?
Oh, yeah, because we were only a mixture.
Yeah. What did they do?
And they didn't, at that time, you didn't see Japanese mixed with any other race. And so that made it hard for them to accept that my dad was married to a Mexican woman.
Was it hard for your mom?
No, they didn't do anything to my mother. They talked to her, and stuff like that. But like I said, like the kids, it was hard because, the kids, they just like the whites that don't want blacks now. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they didn't want, they don't want the little black kids. Like my Petey, when he went to school, Chucky, I was always afraid what he was going to say because there was no blacks in La Mirada. And I was always, when you go from one shopping center, you're going to run into some of them. And I thought, I was always worried of what he would say because he had never seen him. But, like I say, he came one day, some little black boy came to the door and he was selling candies to earn a trip or something. And it was getting dark, Chuck. And Petey said, Leo, there's a little boy there and he's selling candy. He wants to know if you want to buy some. So Leo said that, yeah, okay. So he gave Petey the money to go. Then after he closed the door and the little boy left, he thought that the little boy was turning dark because it was getting dark at night. And he tells Leo, he was changing colors, huh, Leo? Because it's getting dark. He thought that the little boy was getting darker because the day was gone. And, that kind of things you worry about what a child is going to say because it's a child.
Yeah.
And you don't know what they're going to say, but Leo said, no, Petey, he's like that already, that color. Oh, he said, I thought, Leo, he was changing colors.
Inside the camp, you said, okay, so the little kids treated you guys different. In general, how did the soldiers treat everybody or treat you guys?
The soldiers never mingled with nobody in there.
Really?
They were just there to reinforce the outside. We had a hospital there, that you could go for doctor appointments or things like that. I mean, that part, it was okay. We had everything, all the convenience as far as like medical attention and things like that. But like Sal and George, well, they got pretty well along with the boys, George, sometimes he had problems because he was like Felicia, attitude problem. He had, and boy, he was ready to beat everybody up if they did something to him, especially like Ray,
Yeah.
And he used to watch him, kids. He watched one kid, but he always stuck real close to his mom. But that time he stayed behind and the lady went on ahead, and boy, George went and beat him up.
Were the soldiers mean at all? Or were
No.
they nice?
They never mixed with the people. No, they were just outside reinforcing.
Okay.
But they were okay. They never, like I say, we didn't have any problem. I mean, as far as we had to go only that to the kitchen, because if you didn't go there at 7 o'clock, you would go hungry until 11:30 again. So my dad used to bring us, because Grandpa was this kind of a person. He wasn't about to take a loaf of bread from the kitchen to bring us with jelly or something. Because my mother used to buy jelly.
Did she stay there
Yeah,
the whole
she
time?
stayed all the time there. So my dad, my mother used to tell him, but bring a loaf of bread, at least for the kids to have something at night, because there was no such a thing as milk or nothing like that, but at least with a glass of water is the best we had. So she would say, bring a loaf of bread. And so what my mother used to do is she used to ask for the loaf of bread when we were through dinner time. And they'd give her the loaf of bread, to bring it, because they knew that everybody would have to catch something for the kids. But that's the way your grandpa was. He wasn't about to take nothing from the kitchen. And Grandma used to get so mad at him and tell him. Then the only thing we had is the first winter, we had nothing. They had no heaters, no nothing, and those barracks was cold there in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so Grandpa, what he did is, there was so many mesquites trees over there laying there for wood. So he went and he used to make a big hole, take a shovel and make a big hole, and he cut with an axe, chop the trees, chunk them. And then he used to light them up and burn them. When they were burning good, then he'd throw dirt on top of them and make charcoal. And he used to bring the charcoal in sacks, and then he used to put a big pan like that on top of a 50-gallon drum. And he used to put a pan of water and burn charcoal in there, and in the morning, look, that pan, the water was black, so that we won't asphyxiate yourself in sleeping. And that's the way he kept us warm. Because there were no heaters, nothing.
Do you think it was harder or easier, or did being mixed race in the camps? Did you get treatment? Did you get special treatment or treated worse or better?
Oh no, they didn't treat it like I say mean. It just that they didn't want to keep company with you. So that was obvious,
Yeah.
But we survived. I mean, no, there was 4 of us, together. So, you just get that when you got out of school, we all got together and walked home.
What was the school like? What do they teach you about? Or?
Well, they have everything, the classes, like English, math, geography, that kind of thing, The main subjects, I mean, it was nothing extended. I'm sure that we didn't learn a lot of things that might have been on the outside, because, the teachers were limited who went there to teach.
Did they teach you anything about what was going on?
No.
Did they teach you anything about Japanese stuff?
No.
All American stuff?
No, everything was just all American.
Did you go to did you go to Japanese school at any time?
No.
Not even after you got out?
No. There were several families that were mixed, like the Nishikamas. right there when Johnny was born, they baptized Johnny because they had, a Catholic church there. It's a barrack, but it was Catholic service. And there were Johnny's padrinos. They lived, I think the lady still lives, she's still alive, Rita, over here in Merced.
Do you remember when you got out? When it was they let you out of the camp?
They let us out in August, towards the end of August of 45, 1945.
Was it hard once you got out? As far as like discrimination wise, did you?
Yeah, when we first came out, they took us right there, right here in Fresno, where the Buddhist church is. Right there. They had somebody to pick us up from the train, and they brought us there, and that's where we had a place to stay until we found a place where we could go. So we stayed there, and Grandpa and Sal used to go up. They used to have trucks to come and pick up the men to go to work. The farmers would come and pick up so many men from there. And it was the season of, where they were still picking peaches and stuff like that. And Sal and him used to go on the truck. And then the nighttime they come there, we would stay there, and they give you temporary provision like a stove or, things utensils and stuff to cook. And then pretty soon there was a man that came from Mr. Johnson from Fowler. He came, and they asked my dad if he wanted to go with him to work. And it was right at the time when the grape and all of that was going to start. And so he came and he picked us up from the church and gave us a house and gave us beds and went into town and brought us mattresses and all of that. And so he got us a stove and everything, and we were able to get in the house and have beds at least anyway, and the stove and things. So then we worked with him. We picked all his grape. We turned all his trays, then rolled them all up.
You
boxed,
did too?
Yeah.
All the kids?
Maruka and I and Sal used to help him. But my dad, we picked the grape, and we flipped the raisins, the trays, and then we boxed all the trays. So.
Why did you guys come to Fresno instead of go back down?
Because they knew at the time that we came out, the time there was a lot of work here. The grape and all of that was starting. So that's why we came, because there was time for us to make a few bucks.
Did you get in you had your land and cars and everything in Brawley, huh?
No, we didn't have nothing left in Brawley.
I mean, when you left, you had, that's where it was?
Yeah, but we didn't have nothing left because my dad sold whatever they offered him to take. He took it, was better than nothing.
So you used to start over in Fresno?
Oh yeah, so we had to start over here in Fresno. So, like I said, we did all the work for that man, prune the vines and all of that, tie all the vine and all of that. Then when we finished the work, then we went back to Imperial Valley. But we did all that work, at least for about 5 months with him we worked.
So when you came out, you guys came to Fresno just to work, and then you went back?
Yeah, we went over there to the valley. But in the meantime, my dad we saved enough money, and he came into town here to Fresno to get us a car, because he used to travel, him and Sal used to walk 10 miles to go get groceries. And then they used to walk to town and catch a cab to come home to bring us groceries. And he would go about every other week. So we used to, then he came into town. He said he took the money, brought the money with him, and was going to see if he could buy us a car. Well, my dad wasn't mechanical inclined to say that he knew much about cars or anything like that. So they sold him an old Oldsmobile, and that thing, Chucky, was like a German tank. Heavy as hell. Huh? And so he came home the next day. The damn car wouldn't start. They had to be pushing the car to get it started. But then we only kept that thing maybe about 6 months, and then in the meantime, we saved a little more money. Then he got smart. He went and got a mechanic, a Japanese boy, and they went, and he took him with him, and then he got a good car, because the boy was a mechanic, and so he took him with him, and he told him what car to buy. But the other way, and he was short $200 for that Oldsmobile, and they didn't want to let him have it. He had to all the money. He said he would pay it in one payment, $200. No, they weren't going to give it to him. So he had to come home and then get $200 more. And he bought that stupid car that didn't even run.
When did you guys finally move up to Fresno from the Frio Valley?
Oh, we only stayed over there the 1 year.
Down there. Then you came back.
And then we came back, and that's when Grandma bought that little old house right there on the corner of Kern and Mayor.
And then the community that you lived in, was it Mexicans again, or did you guys stick with
well, right there,
Japanese?
Well, no, we never lived among Japanese people.
Not
Never
even
did,
after?
no. All the workers Grandpa had in their little houses, everybody that lived in the houses that are in the ranch, they were all Mexican people.
He owned land, and then he employed people?
He released a lot of land of it.
So they won't let you own it?
He owned, after the war, no. Before the war, that was different, but after, he was in a company with, what they call them, those irrigation places, where they run the water.
Yeah.
They used to own some of the land, and he would farm with them.
Did you guys eventually go to school then, after you got out?
After we got out, we never went to school anymore.
None of you?
We had to help my dad out there to work to make some money. So I only went up to the 10th grade, and that was it.
Nobody graduated?
None of us graduated, because we had to get out. That was a season to make some money, because we come out without no money. So we didn't have any money, What little they had, that was it.
In 1988, there was called the redress movement, where the Japanese Americans who were interned got the $20,000 each.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? You think it was fair, or?
That wasn't it was better than nothing. But it wasn't worth for 3.5 years that was taken away from your life.
Yeah.
But, so it's okay. It was better than nothing.
Yeah. Are you still in contact with any people that you met in the camps? Do they come here too, or?
No.
You don't know anyone?
The one that was in concentration camp, it was this man aquí at the end of the street. When you first turn this way, the house across like that. Bob Hott. But they went to a different, where did he say they went?
They were up there in
Nebraska?
up by Mammoth.
Manzanar?
Manzanar, yeah.
I'm sure.
And see, those were the ones in this area went over there. Like us, we went to Arizona. And there was, first when we got there, there was only one camp, but they were working on the second one. And there was there was 1, 2, and 3 camps over there. It was 20,000 people more. It was 10,000 on each camp.
How many people in the camp you were at?
20,000.
20,000.
And that's a lot of people.
That's a lot. Did you know there's a Japanese-American National Museum in LA?
No.
Yeah. It just opened not so long ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think on the
Well, you know, when we have the Olympics over there in LA, there was a kid that was, I think he was in the gymnastics, by the name of Kajitani. It's really weird, you know, because, you know, like you say, Garcia, Hernandez, and Martinez, and, you know, there's oodles of them, huh? But was Kajitanis were the only 2 families, and one were in Selma and us in Fresno. That's it. And there's still no other ones, huh? There's no other.